We're going to go bid on a foreclosure auction house today. So it was the plan was that we actually wanted to bid on 3 apartments and a house, but the auction on the 3 apartments that I mentioned in a video yesterday got cancelled. So there's only this one left. So that means like we could sleep a little bit longer. But let's go now and go bid on this house and see if we can get it. Have arrived at the court. So last time I was going to bid on an auction, it was during COVID, so it was like relocated to another placement. But today it's going to be here, and it's going to be inside something called courtroom J. Someone else got the property, so I bought a lot of toilet paper so I can go home and cry myself to sleep. If I had won the auction, then I would have run down to the nearest electronic market and get some video surveillance, and then get one of these 5G boxes so I could put some internet and surveillance cameras inside the property I would have bought. Then I bought some UV cameras, even though I didn't buy the house. I do like these cameras, so we have like, I don't know, maybe 20 of them so far. So it's very good. Like, so if if I had taken over the property, I would go put this up. These are very good because they are wireless, so you can put them up in the trees, you can put them up wherever you want, and they're on battery. We have we're using several different kinds at home. It's not sponsored, but we have like the 4K ones. We have some Arlo cameras too, but it's very good, like, to just put it up so you can like make sure like no one is trespassing on your property. The reason why I keep talking about this thing with camera, so I do mention that in a lot of videos, because we had at one point, in one of our houses, then I had materials and like tools in the house for 50,000 crowns, and then some guy had to come and give an offer for the aircon unit, and then after he was there, then there was a break into the house, and then materials were stolen for us, was worth around $6,000, and tools. And that kind of sucks. I didn't have insurance, so I just lost all of it. But even if I had insurance, I would have gotten it back. It's still annoying that you need to go out and get all this stuff again and spend the time with the police and blah, blah, blah. So it's much easier and much more preemptive to have the cameras instead. Another thing people forget with like houses and like auctions is like, so we have here, like I can see in the app, that it costs like 136 crowns. Calculated for me to drive one way, so I had to drive 2 ways, so that's around 40 US dollars for driving today. So I need to put that cost into my accounting, my numbers, so I know like how much I'm spending on these houses. And then I have to say like, okay, so today I spent like 1 hour and 1 hour, so at least 2 hours, and then if I need to get paid $40 per hour, then I spent $80 in total on this going back and forth. Anyways, let's go inside and look at how the bidding war was going today. Okay, so what did I bid? So the auction was held in a courthouse. We came into the courthouse. I was there with one of the guys I'm a mentor for, so he had some questions with his real estate, so he was just tagging along and wanted to see how these type of auctions worked. So when we came in, there were like around 10 people in the room, so we were 2 of them. So I was there with a guy called Yusuf, and then there's a legal representative from the courthouse, and then there's a representative for the person who orchestrated or like created the auction, who didn't get paid. Then it starts with the girl, who was a girl from the court, who asked the guy who wanted his money, and then she says like, so have any of the numbers of cash he wants, have they changed? And then they update the different columns. So that means like now part-time has passed since this was the second auction since the first auction. So that means like more interest has come on top, so the numbers has changed. The same thing is that now it's the second auction, so that means like the representative can demand to get paid like around $2,000 more. So that means like the amount of money you need to pay if you bid 1 crown has increased with around not $2,000, $200, a little bit of difference. Then she says that if you bid on this, then you are locked by your bid for 6 weeks. You need to be able to pay 10,000 Danish crowns, so that's around like 1,300, 1,400 US dollars, and then you need to pay the rest of the amount within the 6-week period. Then if you can't pay the rest of the amount, then the 10,000 will go towards creating a new auction. And then the bidding war starts, and she's like, okay, so we're going to bid up 10,000 each time. So 10,000 is around 1,300 US dollars. So Palle, me, I take my hand up and like, can I bid 1 crown? Right? What is that, like 15, 13 cents, right? And she says, okay, you can do that. And then she, what's your name and address? And she gets my name and my address, so she knows who I am. So because I've been there so much the last year, so I'm not buying houses but making trouble. Anyways, so she writes down my bid, and then she says, any other bidders? And then Mohammed turns up, right? And Mohammed says 20,000, and don't do this, right? Don't overbid. Don't get emotional and do crazy shit like that if you don't have a strategy for it. So there was another time I was at the auction, and then a guy was bidding against me, and back then I had the maximum I wanted to pay for the property was like 60,000 Danish crowns. So let's change it just to make it easier. So like 70,000 Danish crowns, and then that's 10,000 US dollars. So that was like the maximum I would bid for the property. And back then it was like I said, 1 Danish crowns, like 13 cents. And then he said 350,000 Danish crowns, right? So he went to like 50,000 US dollars, right? So he's like 5 times above the maximum I would bid, right? So like, so he ended up with paying like 5 times more for that property because there weren't that many bidders, and I wouldn't have bid more than that, right? So that is stupid and that is emotional. So don't do that unless it's part of like a specific strategy you have, right? Because that guy, he lost $40,000 there because there was no one else besides me he was bidding against, and then he overbid my maximum bid with $40,000, right? So he might as well just have gifted me the money. That would have been definitely smarter. Anyway, so the guy bids the 20,000. Then I was talking about in the video yesterday that I had this maximum that was like I would maximum bid 40,000. That was what I was, and then plus the extra you need to pay, right? So the next thing that happened is that then I bid 30,000, and then he's quite fast to bid 40,000. But this morning I was looking at the paperwork again, and I was getting a little bit emotional. I was saying like, I really want to pick this fight about this dead house with the local government. And then my wife Sean said, okay, and then we agreed that I could bid 10,000 more. So actually, even though I said yesterday my maximum was 40,000, then I bid the 50,000 because that's what we agreed before this. And that means like for me, it ends there. But then Mohammed was sitting there. 60,000, boom. And you see, then my line was broken, and then I stopped bidding. And then Mohammed got the house for 60,000 Danish crowns, the dead house. So the thing we need to be aware of is that Mohammed is a little bit like I was 5 years ago when I started like real estate investing and didn't really know anything, right? So he gets a little bit tunnel vision, like he's on drugs, right? So we call it like Palle 1.0. That is like Mohammed today. So Mohammed's mission is to get a house, right? But it's like the Schrödinger thing, right? Is the house dead or alive, right? Like the cat. So it's a thing with a cat in a box, right? So is the cat dead or is the cat alive? And here the house is dead, right? We call, like we were joking, that it's like the mold castle, right? This this house is dead, and you like the local government has like enforced this, right? So you can't stay inside, you cannot live inside, right? There are very hard restrictions with this, right? So you can't just rent it out, where you can see that if you're like 2.0 of this thing, right? So like Pallet 2.0, right? So I would consider like who's going to live here, how much rent are they going, like potentially going to pay for this property if I do this and this and this and this to it, right? Then I would go back and then I would look at like, okay, so how much does it cost to make the changes that would create this rent and attract this kind of customer, and like how does this look? And then in my budgeting, I would like make the decision on how much to bid. And as I talked about in the video yesterday, 2 days ago, previous video, there's a link at the end to that one. There's a playlist with this. Then the thing I was considering there was that what are the constraints, what are the things, what are the expert things that I have here, right? Because this is actually a very technical buy. So you can see that like a lot of people, they don't have a lot of knowledge, right? They don't know a lot of things, but then they think they are like the best and the greatest and are experts, right? But like that's when you get to the next level, is when you realize there's like more things you need to consider, because this house in reality is not worth anything, right? So the house is worth nothing because you can't rent it out. You're not allowed to rent it out. So you need to fix the things that needs to be fixed and get a permission from the local government in order to actually rent the house out, right? So you're kind of like, if you don't have the knowledge or the experience in like removing this ban, then you're screwed, right? But that's like on the bad side, right? I've learned how and gotten these skills and the experience, right? So I can actually do that. But then because of the house prices are very low, then it's still like a tricky thing. So even though that is the thing, then even with my bid and my knowledge and my experience, right, then I have to admit that it's part of like the emotional part for me. may like kind of was fighting with my logic, right? So this is a Tony Robbins model. So what he says is that DRAP is dominant reasons to avoid buying, right? So a dominant reason to avoid buying this house is that it's dead, right? So you can't rent it out, right? So usually when I like in my course, and usually I would say that like we need to rent out houses within like 30 days, right? So the renovation and stuff needs to be done, or else we need to do some Airbnb or something like that and rent out the house immediately, right? Because like we need to get paid fast, right? Else what the f are we doing, right? So we have the dominant reasons to avoid buying, and that is like the house is like not worth anything. You can't rent it out before you fix this thing, right? So see, it's not, the logic is always smaller than emotion, right? So we will always buy more for emotional reason than logical reason. That's why it's very, very important to set the standards and rules, like I talked about with Warren Buffett and Mr. Carl Icahn, right? So we need to set the standards. We need to set rules. Otherwise, we sometimes get taken over by our emotions. So I know I'm a little bit emotional about this thing because they screwed me over in the past, and I want to show that I'm right. And then we have like the logic, right? So the logic for me here is that I actually can make this work. It's going to be very, very difficult and hard for me, but I do have the leverage, right? I do have the logic that I can make this work, right? And then the emotion combined with the logic, like how much money can I pay, right, before like my emotion starts hurting. But then I need to make those considerations, right? And that's where, like I said, actually it should have been here, right? But then I turned up the emotion a little bit extra today and put it over here, right? But that means like I would stop. And it's very important when you do these things to make the decision beforehand and have considering everything, like the constraints you have, the risks you have, and the second order consequences of what you're doing, right? So like, I don't think he considered the second order consequence that he now has a house that is screwed up, right? So it's actually not the first time I've tried to bid on one of these houses. The last time someone bought it like so it was like following the same kind of pattern, right? So I was bidding 1 crown, then he was bidding 10,000, then I was bidding 20,000, then he was bidding 30,000, and then I stopped because I didn't want to pay more than 30,000, right? So then he bought one of these dead houses, and then he came to me, and then he asked me and paid me some money to help him lift the ban, right? So kind of funny with Yusuf today, right? So he said, like, Pally, maybe you should give him your phone number, so when he gives up, he can sell you the property. And I said, yeah, it could be kind of funny. I think people also forget is like when you live far away from these houses, right? So I was talking about like the transport for me today, right? But if you're like the lawyer, I bought some houses from a few years ago, right? So the lawyer had to go like with an auction. So they were buying houses on auction here too. So they had to travel like 2 hours to the auction, stay there 2 hours. Maybe they would win, maybe they would not win. When we say they win every time, right? And 2 hours back, right? So that is just like getting winning the auction, right? So if they have like an hourly payment, usually if they do lawyer stuff of $600, that means like $3,600 is what it cost them in lost revenue if they were doing lawyer stuff instead. And that means like, and that's just buying the property. That's day number one. Day number two is when they like need to go and inspect the property, right? So then it's $7,200. So like on day three, they had like lost more money traveling and going back and forth than they paid for the property. So it turns into like a bad business very, very, very fast, right? So you need to be aware of this and like look at the numbers, so you're not like looking running like enthusiastically in the wrong direction, right? So we need to be running in the right direction. That's why when I started with the real estate, I was living in Copenhagen, so I was like doing something similar, except I wasn't getting paid that much back then, right? But then I had to look at like, so I had to travel by car 2 hours. How much is that in repairs, maintenance, gasoline? How much time? 2 hours this way, 2 hours this way, right? And then doing that 5 times a week. So how much is that? But then you can say like, Pelle, but you're learning something, right? Yeah. So knowledge is power, right? But it could be listening to audiobooks or like learning stuff at home. I don't need to go 2 hours away in order to learn stuff. And then there are like ways to cheat with like buying courses and stuff when you want to learn stuff. I'm just saying that you need to be aware and take that into consideration. It's the same thing with the house like today. So I did spend some time on it, right? And I did drive. So I need to put that time into my box of like, this is the money I spend on trying to buy on auction again, right? So this is the third time I'm trying to buy on auction where I didn't get it, right? And then at some point I have to like come to terms with that maybe this is not the thing for me because I'm not winning any of the auctions, right? So we will see. Maybe give myself 6 months from today, and then if I haven't bought anything or haven't bought anything that then can create the money, then I should stop doing what I'm doing and then change the activities, because when we change the activities, we change the results. So when you hit the subscribe button, then you change your mind and hit the like button or the dislike button, and then yeah, that's basically it. Anyways, I'm Pelle. Subscribe to the channel. I always said that. Write what you think in the comments. Write like, oh, Pelle, you didn't get the crazy house. Or like, I'm glad you didn't get it. Or shit, man, you're going to get the next one. Write it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.